The road is a thin ribbon of asphalt, cutting through the deep woods of Michigan's Upper Peninsula. The darkness feels absolute, the whisper of wind through towering pines. Here, on a designated turnout off Robbins Pond Road, people gather almost every night. They come with thermoses of coffee, folding chairs, and a shared sense of anticipation. They are not waiting for a celestial event or a scheduled performance. They are waiting for a light. It appears without warning, a single orb of luminescence hovering above the distant tree line. A silent, ghostly beacon in the vast, unlit wilderness. This is the Paulding Light. For more than half a century, it has been a local fixture, a regional enigma that draws the curious and the skeptical alike. Sometimes it is a steady, soft glow, the color of a distant candle. Other times it pulses with a reddish hue, or a greenish hue, growing in intensity until it seems to sear the darkness, only to vanish moments later. It can bob up and down, drift slowly from side to side, or split into multiple points of light before coalescing back into one. That unpredictable, almost playful movement transforms it into something that feels alive, something that feels watched as much as it is watching. Strangers speak in low tones, sharing stories of past sightings, or recounting the local legends they have heard. Every flicker in the distance, every shift in the light's position sends a ripple of excitement through the small crowd. They point, they gasp, they raise their cameras and phones, hoping to capture a definitive image of something that defies easy explanation. The experience is communal, a small tribe of seekers united for a few hours against the immense silence of the forest, all asking the same silent questions about what they are truly seeing. The power of the Paulding Light lies in its context. It does not appear over a bustling city or a well-lit highway. It manifests in a place that feels ancient and remote, a landscape that has long been a source of mystery and folklore. The deep woods of the Upper Peninsula have a character of their own, one that encourages a belief in things unseen and unexplained. The light, therefore, is not just a visual phenomenon. It is an experience steeped in the environment. To stand on that cold, lonely road is to feel a connection to a mystery that feels much older and more profound than the pavement beneath your feet. The story of the Paulding Light did not begin with the first car that pulled over to watch it. Its roots run deeper, woven into the region's cultural and historical fabric. Long before European settlers arrived, the Native Ojibwe people inhabited these lands. Their oral traditions are rich with stories of nature and the supernatural intertwining. No single ancient legend pins down this exact light, but their folklore is full of mysterious lights in forests and swamps. Spirits, manifestations of powerful manatis serving as warnings or guides. The most famous legend is more modern, tied to the industrial age. It's the story of a railroad brakeman, early 20th century. A man worked on a freight train through the valley. One dark night he walked atop moving cars, signaling with his lantern, and was tragically killed. In most versions, he was decapitated. Since then, his ghost is said to walk the old rail line, swinging his lantern back and forth, eternally searching for his lost head or waiting for a train that will never come. That ghost story became the default explanation for locals and visitors. It gives the mystery a human, tragic face. The site became a kind of memorial. A large sign by the U.S. Forest Service even recounts the Brakemen legend. The tale is passed from parents to children, shared at campfires, whispered among watchers on the dark road. The first documented modern sightings began in the 1960s. Local teenagers reported the light to the sheriff. Word spread. Paulding became synonymous with the nightly mystery. The era's fascination with UFOs and the paranormal helped it explode. The Paulding Light became a rite of passage for youth, and a destination for investigators. A gathering place, a piece of local identity, a shared secret this remote Michigan community owns. The true power of the Paulding Light is not found in scientific journals or historical archives, but in the personal testimonies of those who have seen it. These first-hand accounts, filled with emotion and vivid detail, are what keep the mystery alive. For decades, people have stood on that roadside and walked away with stories that defy their own sense of logic. One longtime resident of a nearby town described his first encounter as a teenager. It wasn't just a dot, he recalled. It looked like a ball of fire that would just hang there. Then it would zip to the left, stop, and then zip back. It was too fast and too precise to be a car or anything normal. These narratives often emphasize the light's seemingly intelligent or interactive behavior. A woman who visited with her family spoke of an experience that felt personal. "We were the only ones there," she said, her voice still filled with wonder years later. "We flashed our flashlight at it 3 times, and a moment later, it flashed back at us 3 times. We did it again, and it did it again." I don't care what anyone says about car lights. A car doesn't do that. It was a conscious response, a direct interaction that sent chills down my spine. Many accounts highlight the sheer physicality and unusual characteristics of the light, which seem to contradict simple explanations. A visitor from Ohio described seeing the light split into 2 separate orbs. It was one solid light, maybe a little reddish, and then it just broke in 2, he explained. They hovered next to each other for maybe 10 seconds, like 2 eyes staring at us from across the valley, and then they merged back into one and faded out. It was the most bizarre thing I have ever witnessed. You can't tell me that was headlights. It just doesn't make any sense. The emotional impact of these sightings is a recurring theme. A young couple on their honeymoon made the trip and were initially skeptical, expecting to see nothing. Then it appeared, and my heart just stopped, the woman remembered. It was so bright and so silent. There was no noise, no engine, nothing. Just this beautiful, lonely light in the middle of nowhere. I don't know if it was a ghost or something else, but I cried. It was a profoundly moving experience, feeling so small in front of something so mysterious and unexplainable. As the fame of the Paulding Light grew, it attracted attention from scientists, skeptics, amateur investigators searching for a rational explanation. Leading scientific theory, an optical illusion from car headlights, diagram, light rays bending through atmospheric layers. The headlights come from US Route 45, several miles north. Route 45 runs through the same long, narrow valley. From Robbins Pond Road, the topography aligns to show distant lights over the treetops. Atmospheric optics at work. Cold, clear nights can cause the air to layer into different temperatures and densities. This temperature inversion makes the air act like a lens. Rays from headlights bend or refract as they pass through layers. Refracted light appears higher in the sky than its source. Refraction can also magnify the light, appearing brighter and closer. The theory explains many behaviors. Appearance and disappearance match cars cresting a hill or rounding a bend. Color shifts, white, red, orange explained by atmospheric scattering, the same effect that reddens the sun at sunset. As cars move toward or away, the light can grow brighter, then dimmer. Bobbing and swaying comes from unsteady air currents causing the image to shimmer. Much like a star appears to twinkle. The viewing spot sits on a slight elevation at the end of a long, straight valley corridor. Thick forest on both sides blocks other lights, creating a dark stage. From here, the highway is invisible, yet distorted lights can appear to float in the night sky. Many investigators find this combination of topography and atmosphere a satisfying explanation. The headlight theory, while compelling, remained just a hypothesis until it was put to the test. Over the years, several groups have conducted experiments to either prove or disprove the connection between the Paulding Light and the traffic on US Route 45. One of the most notable investigations was conducted in 2010 by a group of students from Michigan Technological University. Armed with a telescope, spectroscope, GPS equipment, they set out to collect definitive data. The students' methodology was straightforward and effective. One team positioned themselves at the official viewing site with a high-powered telescope and camera. A second team drove to the specific stretch of US Route 45, identified as the likely source. The 2 teams were in constant radio communication. The field team on the highway drove their vehicle back and forth. They turned their headlights on and off. They flashed their high beams. They even held up colored filters in front of the lights at pre-arranged times. You know, the results were conclusive and unambiguous. Every time the team on the highway flashed their vehicle's lights, the observers at the viewing site saw the Paulding Light flash in perfect synchronization. When the car turned on its emergency flashers, the distant light blinked in the same pattern. They were able to match the passing of semi-trucks on the highway with brighter, more prolonged appearances of the light. Through the telescope, they were even able to resolve the single point of light into the distinct shape of a car, including its headlights and the outline of its roof. This experiment provided powerful, repeatable evidence supporting the headlight theory. Video footage from the investigation clearly shows the correlation between the actions of the car on the highway and the behavior of the light seen miles away. The students' project was widely publicized and is often cited as the definitive debunking of the Paulding Light's paranormal origins. Other, less formal experiments have replicated these results, with friends using cell phones to coordinate driving patterns on the highway, while others watch from the overlook, further solidifying the scientific explanation for the phenomenon. Despite the compelling evidence from experiments like the one conducted by the Michigan Tech students, the mystery of the Paulding Light has not been entirely put to rest. For a significant number of witnesses and believers, the scientific explanation feels incomplete, failing to account for all the reported behaviors of the light. These lingering doubts and unanswered questions are what allow the legend to endure, keeping the debate alive and well on the cold, dark roadside. The neatness of the headlight theory for some simply does not fit the chaotic and strange reality of their own experiences. One of the primary points of contention is the historical record. Many longtime residents insist that they saw the light long before the specific stretch of U.S. Route 45 was rerouted. They argue that the light has been a consistent presence since the 1960s or even earlier. Furthermore, some of the older accounts describe a light that behaved differently, appearing more like a lantern and less like the modern, brighter orb, suggesting that perhaps the phenomenon has evolved or that there are multiple sources at play. Witnesses also point to behaviors that seem impossible for car headlights to replicate, splitting into multiple orbs, hovering motionlessly for extended periods, making rapid vertical movements. Some have reported seeing the light on nights with heavy fog or snow, conditions under which distant headlights should be completely obscured. These anecdotal reports, while not scientifically verifiable, form a substantial body of counter-evidence for those who remain unconvinced. Ultimately, the persistence of the mystery may have less to do with physics and more to do with human psychology and the power of belief. For many, the Paulding Light is not a problem to be solved, but a wonder to be experienced. The scientific explanation, while logical, strips the phenomenon of its magic and romance. The story of the ghostly brakeman is more compelling, more emotionally satisfying than the physics of light refraction. People often see what they want to see, and in the deep, dark woods of northern Michigan, many want to see a ghost. In the end, the Paulding Light remains suspended between two worlds, the world of scientific certainty, the world of folklore and faith. On one hand, we have a clear, testable and repeatable explanation supported by strong evidence. The light is by this measure a fascinating but ultimately mundane optical illusion created by cars and atmospheric conditions. It is a textbook example of how our senses can be deceived by nature, a clever trick played by topography and physics on the human eye. The case, for all practical purposes, seems to be closed, and yet the watchers still come. They gather on the roadside, undeterred by the scientific consensus drawn by the power of a story and the possibility of witnessing something that defies explanation. Historical sightings, accounts of impossible movements, sheer emotional impact of the experience, are large enough to let the doubt and the magic shine through. For these individuals, the light is more than a refracted headlight. It is a connection to a deeper mystery. Perhaps the true identity of the Paulding Light is not the most important question. Perhaps its real value lies in its ability to make us pause to look into the darkness and to wonder. It forces us to confront the limits of our own perception and the boundary between what we know and what we believe. A ghost, a UFO, A Ford Explorer cresting a hill 5 miles away depends not just on the evidence, but on the lens through which you choose to view the world. It is a personal Rorschach test projected onto a canvas of night. The invitation remains open, the road is there, the darkness is waiting, and the light will almost certainly appear. Listen to the stories shared by the other watchers. Feel the cold night air and the deep silence of the forest. Watch the light as it flickers to life in the distance. Decide for yourself what it means. The Paulding Light doesn't offer easy answers. It offers something far more valuable. A question, a mystery, a story to tell. So, what do you think is out there in the dark?